Because the three concepts you're referring to, the first one is already passed Parliament, that is the CAA. Not the first one, the second one you mentioned, but that is already passed Parliament. It's a Citizenship Amendment Act. I'm proud to say I spoke against it in Parliament, and I've spoken against it outside Parliament, and I've written against it. It is a law which provides for fast-track citizenship for refugees from neighboring countries. The first draft of the law was only about Hindu minorities from neighboring countries. They realized that wasn't going to fly. So they added other religions, including Christians, Buddhists, Jains, and so on, but they left out one community only, and that's Muslims. So they said it's a fast-track citizenship for essentially everybody except a Muslim. No Muslim is going to get fast-track citizenship in India. Now, I objected on one fundamental ground of principle, which is that it's the first time that religion has been mentioned in an issue of citizenship. And it sets a very dangerous precedent, because our constitution rests on the fundamental idea that your religion doesn't matter in the rights it confers, the rights your citizenship confers. Your rights as a citizen are completely independent of your religion, of your ethnic identity, of your language, of your caste, and all the other factors that come from birth. And your religion, therefore, is completely and totally meant to be irrelevant to your rights as a citizen. The CAA, for the first time, says some will have different rights only on the grounds of religion. I believe that is unconstitutional. I'm still waiting for the Supreme Court to grapple with this issue, but I hope that it will outlaw it. Now, linked to that, as you rightly have tried to link it in your question, is the notion of the UCC, or the Uniform Civil Code. The Uniform Civil Code is still shrouded in mystery because no one knows what it's meant to consist of. There is a general language in the directive principles of the Constitution which says that it's a desirable objective to have a uniform civil code in the country. And if you put it that way, yes, of course it's desirable, because most countries, and certainly most democracies, have a uniform civil code. Go to America, go to England, go to Europe. All these countries have uniform civil codes. Everyone is subject to the same civil code. But our history is different. Partially thanks to the way in which all this was codified under British rule, every community has acquired certain entrenched rights of its own, which understandably it will be reluctant to give up. So, for example, the Muslim community and Muslim personal law. Some of our tribal communities have certain tribal practices enshrined and protected by law, by the Constitution. And that includes, of course, the protections given to the special culture of the Naga people under 371A. Now, in these circumstances, what does the Uniform Civil Code mean? What will it change? What will it abolish? What will it add? What will it subtract? No one knows, because there is no draft available for discussion. All we are talking about, the BJP says we'll have a Uniform Civil Code, we'll have a Uniform Civil Code. But what? What are you going to do, and whom are you going to do it to? And that remains a big mystery. Now, I must stress that though this Uniform Civil Code idea has been floating around for some time, what Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru said, which remains, in my view, the Congress Party's answer to the same question, is a Uniform Civil Code is a desirable objective in a very abstract way, but you have to take everyone along. It cannot be imposed on people. You cannot provoke civil unrest by imposing something that the people don't want. Now, for example, the vast majority of Muslim opinion doesn't like it. My solution has always been, and going back to my days at the United Nations, that the issue is actually one of coercion. So if you say, for example, Muslims are entitled to personal law, their own personal law, but a Muslim woman stands up and says, I want the right to marry outside Muslim personal law, I want to marry with a civil law which gives me different rights and so on, she should have the right to do that. And what's more, Indian law does give her the right to do that. So what you have is a situation where there is no coercion. You have that choice. So you can choose, for example, let's say you're a Naga living outside Nagaland. The 371 applies only in Nagaland. Okay, so you're a Naga living outside Nagaland, you want to marry a non-Naga, and you say, I want to marry without adherence to tribal customs. You have the right to do that. That's the law. That's the Constitution. Same thing with the Muslims, same thing with any other personal law, any other element. See, the personal law issue is also a red herring because personal law only covers marriage, inheritance, and divorce. If a Naga murders a person, he is subject to the same civil law as a Hindu murdering a person or a Christian murdering a person. Murder is murder. There's no separate law. You understand? Personal law applies only to a very limited number of subjects. So the whole issue has become unnecessarily blown up in my view. But nonetheless, if the BJP wants to do it, because it's part of their whole concept of, as we said earlier, one nation, one culture, one language, one leader, and finally one law also, if that's their idea, then in that case, this relentless quest for uniformity could give us a very worrying situation. My fear is they will not reveal their hand before the next general election. Because if they circulate a draft uniform civil code, then they will unite all those who will be affected by it against them. So my suspicion is they'll talk vaguely, they'll talk about other things, they'll talk about security and 56-inch chest and muscles and toilets and God knows what else. And then after the election, that's when they will try and do it. So if you want to prevent that kind of thing happening, the best thing to do is to keep the BJP out of power in 2024.